Have you ever wanted to know the secret to blind tasting and guessing a wine? Well, we're telling it all today. And when I say we're telling it all, we are telling you all the secrets for 30 minutes. We're going to chat the one, two, threes of blind tasting. I'm Shay Frechette, and I'm co owner and co wine maker at Frechette Winery. And I also make a wine under a label called Sachet Wines. I hope you get a chance to check it out. Joining me today is Chris Gaither of Ungrafted San Francisco. Chris, hey, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Really good to be here.
I am so stoked to do this. I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and anything that we want to know about you that you normally wouldn't tell us. I want to know that since we're talking about all the secrets.
Okay. My name is Chris Gaither. I am one of the owners of Ungrafted here in San Francisco in the Dogpatch neighborhood. And my wife and I are longtime sommeliers. We have a restaurant. Ungrafted is a restaurant and bottle shop. Everybody working floor is a sommelier. It's a really fun place to come and kick it. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, and you can come and have lunch. You can come have dinner. You can come buy a bottle. You can come and hang out. We do all kinds of fun stuff. Um, let's see, something that people don't know about me. I love running long distances, and I'm not a frequent marathon runner, but I do like running marathons, and I consider it's a very relaxing thing for me and very meditative for me to go off on like a 10-mile run, despite not getting a chance to do it that often. That's something I don't really talk about too much, but I really enjoy it.
All those
Um,
hills you guys have in San Francisco, and you were running them.
yeah, I love it. Great.
All
It's
right,
it's
so running and wine. That's okay. I'll keep that in mind. I hope that folks follow you because you're on LinkedIn. You are also on Instagram. So look for Ungrafted SF and make sure you follow Chris and show him some love. If you're joining us and you're in the Bay Area or anywhere in California, then make sure you seek him out. You're gonna absolutely fall in love with him, especially after he blind tastes, and we get to just kind of pick his brain. Um, Also, if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. We would love to hear from you. Chris is a sommelier, and so he's dope and he knows a lot of stuff about wine. So you can ask him anything. Although we are focusing on blind tasting, you still can ask him anything while we're together today. Chris, let's just start off with what blind tasting is and why people do it.
Yes. Blind tasting is a way to evaluate a wine and to be able to deduce details about a wine based on how it looks, on how it smells, and on how it tastes. And there's a lot that goes into being able to do that. You have to develop a little bit of a nomenclature, a way of, if you will, of quantifying what you're describing with the wine. And it's also it's a great tool that I would say most wine professionals working in the business blind taste to some degree to be able to test their skills, but also to be able to easily identify specific characteristics of wine and be able to describe them. Uh, it's also a great way to assess quality in a wine. Because that's a very important thing as a wine professional, and also as a consumer, it's a really great tool. It helps you to describe wine better. So if you know what to say to somebody to get, let's say, a Riesling, instead of just asking for a Riesling, there's other wines that taste very similar. You can go to a restaurant and say, "Oh, I want a nice, crisp, refreshing white wine that smells like citrus and maybe has a little touch of honey, bone dry, really refreshing, high acid." You could use that language to describe the wine and get exactly what you're looking for, and be able to somewhat explore as well. I guess that was a roundabout way of answering your question, but
I
that's
love it. I love how passionate you are about this. I think that for some folks, they might blind taste. For us, before we got into making wine, we used to host these blind wine tasting adventures with our friends regularly. And what I loved was just the conversation around it. I love to get that opportunity to slow down the wine experience and to get to
Hmm.
notice things about that wine that I may not have noticed before when I'm drinking the wine, and also just having great conversation. For those of you just joining us, we're talking blind tasting with me, Shay Frechette, and sommelier Chris Gaither of Ungrafted San Francisco. Let us know in the chat if you've ever done a blind tasting experience before. We're about to get into it. Well, first off, we'll get into blind tasting in just a moment because I want you to talk steps to blind tasting, and then we're gonna watch you do it, like just like they should do on the reality shows or in the movies. I can't wait to see you do this. But how do you correctly pronounce the role you are, and then how do the cool people say it?
Oh, the correct pronunciation is sommelier. It's basically a wine steward, and working in various aspects, either in a restaurant or a wine shop, or even in a wine related field. And the short version of that is SOM. We call ourselves SOM, SOMM. And it's basically a wine related role where you're focused on specific aspects. For example, if you're in a retail shop, you have a sommelier that may be selecting all of the bottles that go into the retail shop. They know detailed information about how the wines are made, about the regions the wines come from, the producers that made the wine, how the grapes were grown, soils, the specific appellation and what is typical for that appellation, and also especially how the wine is going to perform in your glass for you as a consumer, and also what to pair with that wine. I'll give you a good example. I had some people, we're both a restaurant and a bottle shop, so I'm just speaking from our experience at Ungrafted. Last night, I had some people come in and they wanted to get some wines that go with Moroccan food. They were cooking like a vegetable tagine, some spiced chicken, a really tasty date cake. And so I gave them a bunch of different recommendations. And for your viewing pleasure, I posted all of my recommendations on Instagram. So they were having a dinner party. They could see all the recommendations and hear descriptions of the wines, and they could share it with their guests. So I did that for them to be able to enhance their experience. Now in the restaurant, it's a little bit different. As the sommelier in the restaurant, the sommelier may be selecting wines that go on the list for the restaurant. They're appropriately pricing the wine so that it is not too expensive. It's not, and the restaurant's still able to generate some revenue. They're also making sure that all of the care and handling of the bottles is appropriate, and that's a very important thing. Time and temperature are two really important things for wine. So making sure that the wines are served at the proper temperature that they're supposed to be served at, making sure they're stored at the proper temperature before they're even served, making sure that the service of that wine for guests is very expedient. Nobody wants to wait a long time. Making sure the wine goes in the right glasses, making sure the wine is paired with some tasty food, making sure guests get a great attention and all of their questions are answered depending on what they're looking for. All those things.
Yeah.
We do it all.
Well, you're dropping all kinds of gems here when it comes to wine. I know we're talking blind tasting, but folks do have questions around like, well, is temperature important for wine? And so you just let us know right there. And thank you for the clarification on the pronunciation of sommelier. I love just sticking with som. I think that's just, what the cool kids say. So I love that. So as a som, can you take us through the steps to blind tasting? And then we want to watch you do it.
Yes, it's all about using your senses to evaluate the wine and deduce what the wine is based on how it looks, using your sight, on how it smells, using your nose, and on how it tastes, using your palate. Um, there's for sight, you're looking at the color, or actually two colors, the hue and the secondary hue. You're looking at the clarity, how bright the wine is, how clear it is seeing through it, or if it's opaque. Looking for signs of any kind of cloudiness. If there's a little cloudiness, the wine may have been unfined or unfiltered. Looking for a reference to how much potential viscosity is in the glass, and that's a reference that's a way of of deducing what the potential alcohol level may be, or if there's any sweetness in the wine, what we call residual sugar. It's Shay, do you want me to go over all these things, or should
Well,
I show you? Should I show
the
you?
bumper sticker version. So, so I love
Okay.
that you broke
Sorry.
down the C part. So after you take a look at things like color and viscosity, then you get to smell. Well, I love the swirling part because that's what you're getting ready for your nose. Are you a good swirler?
I'm an
Let's see.
okay swirler. I got
Oh,
to be careful. You can't too. I'm serious. You can't get too overconfident with your swirling, because sometimes people can get really confident with swirling and they may spill wine on themselves. I may spill wine on my computer. I don't want to lose you all in this
I'm one
broadcast.
of those
Be
people.
careful with swirling.
I'm
Be
one of
careful.
those people. I get my shoulders involved in swirling. I mean, come on now, Chris. I mean, look, okay, swirling is a big deal, and it's a part of the experience.
That's
So
true.
when you
That's true.
swirl the wine, you're releasing the aromatics in the wine, and so you go into smelling the wine,
Yes.
right?
You smell.
And then can you show us real quick how you put your nose in the how do you smell the wine, because that can be an art amongst in itself too.
It is. You smell different things at different proximities away from the glass. So giving it just a couple quick sniffs, a couple quick oh, that smells good. A couple quick cursory sniffs. They give you an idea of what the wine can give you, and also you'd be surprised how many very, very quick details you'll pick up just taking a couple quick sniffs of the wine, and then going in a little bit longer for a more, if you will, involved smell of the wine, taking in more of the bouquet, if you will. Uh,
Oh, you just gave me
yeah,
a tip because I've never done like the quick sniffs and then like going in for a longer sniff. So I'm gonna put that into my little blind tasting book. I love that. I love that.
well, there's things that you'll pick up on the quick sniffs, because first impressions are very important for wine, and there's things that will flash through your mind. And these are experiences with other things that you've experienced. It could be other wines, or it could be other ingredients that the wine reminds you of, that will flash through your mind as you're taking a quick sniff. So it's always good to take a couple quick sniffs. Don't think too hard about it. First impressions are very important. For example, just to give you a good example, when I first smelled that, I got a lot of really nice notes of like ripe, slightly baked red and black cherry, a little bit of tea, a little bit of cola nut, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of like coffee, all kinds of fun
All of
things. Oh,
that.
all that
All
really
of that.
fast.
Oh my gosh. Well,
You-
so you got that from sipping, and then you're going to taste the wine, and then you'll talk through that too. So I think we should get into it. I want to watch you do this, and as you're going through this, so to just kind of set this up, this is a blind tasting live experience. I'm
Yeah,
Shay Frechetta for Chet Winery. I have Chris Gaither here with Ungrafted San Francisco, and he's doing a live blind tasting. And so I know you can go into a whole lot of detail, and that's why I wanted to just kind of do the bumper sticker version of what
yeah,
you'll be doing. So, because as you talk through this, we can kind of follow you through the steps of it. So,
yeah.
as you're doing this, if you'll kind of talk us through it as well. And Chris, you have no idea what this wine is, right?
I have no idea what the wine is. My employee Dustin picked it for me, and he picked something that is a very, very. Just for you all to be very clear for everybody, he picked a very specific grape variety that's very popular. Blind tasting it is, and it should be fun, and it shouldn't be something that requires you to think too hard. And the more wines you blind taste, the more wines you're exposed to, and potentially the better you'll be at blind tasting. So this is something that is kind of a straightforward wine that is well, I'll talk about it as I go through it. But again, I'm going to be evaluating this based on how it looks, how it smells, and on how it tastes, and I'll quantify some of those characteristics with how it tastes, so I can easily reference that experience, if you will, and that'll give me an opportunity to deduce a couple of different things. It'll tell me whether the wine is from the old world or the new world. The old world is basically any countries in Europe that have been growing grapes and making wine for at least a millennia. All right. New World is going to be countries that have not been growing grapes or making wine from over a millennia, mainly outside of Europe. So let's say the U.S., California,
Washington.
Washington, Red Mountain.
Washington.
Those are New World areas. Australia, New Zealand, those are New World areas. Chile, Argentina, South Africa, those are all New World areas. All right. And that's basically looking at how the wine is performing in terms of how it smells and tastes. If it's a little, and this is a big generalization, but the wine is a little bit richer and broader and slightly lower in acidity and slightly softer, but still very impact driven, it may potentially be a New World wine. If the wine is a little bit more slightly subtle, maybe not necessarily as broad, a little bit leaner, and this is again a big generalization, and has maybe less overt rightness in the fruit and maybe some other herbaceous weird things going on, that may potentially be an Old World wine. All right. Now there are exceptions in both cases, with a lot of different wines, so it can be a little bit challenging. But once you get the hang of it, it usually works out in one way or the other. And then for grape varieties, there's lots of different grape varieties. Being able to identify certain grape varieties revolve around being able to accurately describe the fruit, the potential earth, if the wine has any wood, if it has any other secondary notes to it, and also using that and putting together that with how it tastes. And so you're going to see me do it real quick. I run through the wines pretty fast, so
Slow it down for us, Chris. Slow it down.
slow it
But
down.
I love how you set this up too, because with blind tasting, to have some education so that you can make some educated guess is necessary. So the way
Yeah.
that you even broke down understanding some of the nuances of New World versus Old World can help you categorize, at least like where that wine is from, where the wine grapes are grown. So
Yeah.
that's great information. So we will, I put a question in the chat to ask folks if they think you're going to nail this. I mean, you sound like you know what you're talking about.
I hope so. I
You've
hope
got the
Dustin gave me a softball.
credentials. You've been doing this. So I have faith in you.
Hey, Dustin, is this a softball? I'm just playing.
Oh my gosh. So Dustin, all right, Dustin. I wish Dustin would could let us know, but you know what? I'm afraid that if he lets us know, he'd be letting you know too. So you're doing this completely blind. We're just
Yeah.
gonna watch you. We're gonna watch you take a look at the wines and just kind of go through all the components of it. We'll watch you swirl again. We're gonna judge you on that. We'll watch you sniff the wine, talk through the components you smell there, and we'll watch you taste the wine. And I want to see you chew the wine too. Do
I
you
gotta
chew the
chew the
wine?
wine too.
Well,
You got
come
me right.
on. Yes, you got to get it all around your palate. We're gonna judge you here. I mean, this is gonna be fun. All right, Chris, let's see you do
All
it.
right.
Over to you. Do this. Let's do this blind tasting live.
All right. So I've got a still red wine here, and just from looking at it, without even going too deep into the color, I do have a white background in front of me, so I can accurately look at the color of the wine. But I'm gonna just go ahead and say this looks like a thin-skinned grape variety, because of the fact that it's not giving a super deep color. This is like a ruby, holding up against a white background. This is a ruby with a little bit of pink in the rim. There's always there's two colors. There's a main color and a secondary color. And then if I swirl the wine, I gotta swirl this wine. Oh, let me start swirling. Swirl, right?
You're showing off, Chris. You're showing off, but I like it. Great swirl there. Great swirl.
So when you swirl the wine, it helps release aromatics. It gives the wine more surface area to release aromatics and esters, and that's what you're smelling. But also, there are going to be some legs that form, or if you will, tears that form around the glass, and that is what we call viscosity. The amount of tears that form around the glass will either be lower or higher. If they're lower, that's low viscosity. If they're higher and they're closer together, that's higher viscosity. So right now, this is like in the medium, heading towards almost not quite high, medium plus range, just because there's a lot of tears forming, and I see it coming down. There's a lot of surface tension in wine, basically the alcohol in suspension with water, and other stuff. So that's how you're getting the viscosity, if you will. So that's there. And then it doesn't look like the wine. I'm looking at it a little bit more. It looks slightly cloudy, just a little bit. So maybe it was slightly, maybe unfined, unfiltered, but it's a thin-skinned grape. I'm already starting off feeling pretty good because there's only a few thin-skinned grapes out there that are considered classic for blind tasting. And when we say classic, I'm talking about grape varieties that you can find in almost any market all around the world that have significant market value all over the world. So there's only a few thin-skinned grapes, but I'll get to that in a moment. On the nose, oh, it smells so good. Like I said, I get some baked red and black cherry, some red and black plum. I'm getting a little bit of tea, a hint of like sweet potpourri with rose petal, a little bit of like cinnamon and clove, a little bit of citrus. So that's all related to some oak influence too. So I'm getting a little bit of oak influence. I think this wine has a little oak to it, and it does have a little bit more ripeness in the fruit. So that's already kind of putting me in gear to say I may think this is a New World wine, but I'm not going to commit to that yet. Let's see. There's also a little bit of turned earth here, and I also got just a little bit of coffee. It smells great. It smells really, really inviting. I want to drink it. Can I drink it? Can I taste it?
You should drink it. You should taste it. And here's where you're going to chew the wine. We got to see it.
Oh, that's tasty.
All right, I'm gonna get a still shot of that because chewing the wine. Let me tell you, you passed the test. You nailed it.
I want to be in one of those magazines where they take a picture of you holding the glass and you're doing like this with the glass.
We can make that happen, right? At least
we can put me in your newsletter
for you on Instagram.
Put me in your newsletter so I can be like,
hey, be careful with the ask for. I think we can make that happen. I think we can make that happen.
I'm gonna do it with my
the Frechette logo hat. That's right. That's right. Little Frechette swag there. I love it. I love it. Chris, when you get the wine over, can you talk to really quickly? And I know you want to go into what you're describing. Why you do that? Why you get the wine on all parts of your mouth?
I'm taking in the wine, and also I'm passing it through my mouth and getting a retronasal fill. What that is your sense of smell is how you're perceiving flavor in wine. So you can only taste a few different things with your palate, with your tongue and gums and everything. So what you're really getting in terms of flavor is coming from what you're smelling. There's a part of your brain that's just behind your eyes called your olfactory bulb. You can access, with practice, up to over 10,000 different aromatics. And you can taste a lot of different things in wine. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm passing wine in my mouth because I'm smelling it as it's in my mouth, as it's heating up and interacting with my tongue and parts of my mouth. And I'm getting different flavors when I'm tasting it. So that's and one thing that I noticed on the palate versus what it smelled like is it's not necessarily as baked in terms of its fruit on the palate. It still does have some ripeness to it. And it's not as spicy as I thought it would be. It's fresh. It's kind of juicy. It's like biting into a ripe, juicy plum, red plum, like ripe, juicy red cherry. It's great. I want to take another sip.
I want to take a sip.
And then let's see. In terms of we call the components of how the wine is showing on your palate, we call that structure. So in terms of how it's making me salivate, that's acidity. I'm salivating just a touch. I would call it maybe medium in terms of acidity. In terms of the alcohol, I'm taking a sip of the wine. I feel it going down in my solar plexus. I feel just a little bit of warmth there. I'll say medium alcohol, maybe heading towards medium plus. And then in terms of tannin, the bitterness that I feel around mouth and gums, it's not super bitter. All right. So I would say maybe medium, if not like heading towards low tannin. All right. So this is a lighter body wine to me because of all that, or rather slightly lighter body wine. And then again, it's a thin skin grape. Thicker skin grapes may have a little bit more weight and power to them because the grape skins are used a little bit more in achieving a darker color. And as a result, the wine has a little bit more tannin. And in many cases, it may have a little more alcohol and more heft as a result. So that being said, taking all those things into account, it smells like red fruit, got some flowers. It's a little bit riper. It's a little bit broader on the palate in terms of texture. It's not super lean. There is some oak influence, and it's a thin-skinned grape. I think this is a New World wine. And in terms of grape varieties, there's a few different varieties that are thin-skinned that would perform like this. One of them would be Pinot Noir. Another one would be Grenache. And there's a potential that it could be Gamay, but Gamay is only found in the Old World in terms of a classic grape variety. So I'm between Pinot Noir and Grenache. So, and then the potential areas of the world that are really well known for this style of wine, if it's Pinot Noir or it's Grenache, those places would be the U.S. It would also be maybe Australia, maybe New Zealand, maybe Chile. Chile does make some really tasty Pinot Noir, guys. All right, let's see. I think that, and I'm going to make a quick approximation of how much age I think it may have. Maybe it's in the 3 to 5 year range. So I think it's no younger than 2019 and no older than like maybe 2017, something like that. So between that, so I'm going to end by saying I think this is a Pinot Noir coming from California. I think this is from Sonoma, maybe like Sonoma Coast, something like that. And I think this is kind of juicy. I think this is maybe a 2019 vintage.
Okay.
And so Dustin has the wine.
Pinot Noir coming from California. He even put it in a bag. OMG. Okay. So tell us again what you think it is. A 2019 Pinot Noir.
I think it's a Pinot Noir from California, from the Sonoma Coast, and I think it's 2019.
Okay.
New World Noir.
All right. Well, drum roll. Here we go.
Oh!
What? Show us.
Can you see that? Let me see. Make sure
I see the producer. Pinot Noir 2019. Oh my gosh, get out. Are you kidding me? Okay, so check this out. All right.
I got nervous.
I can see the sweat. I'm just kidding. Chris, you know what was phenomenal about that is the way you broke it down in that blind tasting and just watching you describe so eloquently what you were getting from that wine. And here's the cool thing. First off, congratulations. That was dope. It was amazing to witness that.
Thank you.
You got some folks who like that. I think the folks watching had faith in you, Chris. They had faith in you. Fantastic job. And I want folks to see you do this live again, but get the opportunity to taste along with you. So together, the two of us are hosting a mystery wine challenge. Where's my mystery wine? Oh, here we go. A mystery wine challenge on March 24th. And we have these bottles that are really nicely covered, so you cannot see the label. And so what you'll do is you'll purchase this bottle, and we send it out to you along with the Zoom link. And you join Chris and me and a small group of other folks. And Chris will take us through how to blind taste that wine. So together, we all talk about what we see and what we smell. First, before we smell, we get to swirl together, learn how to put our hips in, just like you did. Fantastic job. Swirl together. Swirl, yes. Swirl together. We'll talk about the aromatics of that wine. We'll go into tasting that wine together, talk about the flavor. And describing that wine. And then we all get to guess what we think the wine is. This wine is headed to Chris. His is covered as well. He will have no idea what the wine is. In fact, when we start the experience, Chris, we have everyone put their bottle up to their camera so that we can make sure no one tapped into the bottle.
Perfect. Make sure nobody's cheating. Hey, Shay, I need a softball. On the 24th.
Oh my gosh. No. It's no fun that way. But what I would tell you is that it will be a single variety. Red Mountain wine. It would obviously be from Frichette's, made by Greg and myself, and it's going to be a wine that will just knock your socks off. Actually, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what the wine is.
Great.
So it'll be a lot of fun. It will be a lot of fun. So hopefully folks will join us. Go over to FrichetteWinery.com. Nab your bottle. We ship to 16 states. So since we have Chris here from San Francisco, then obviously we ship to San Francisco. We ship to California. So hopefully we'll have some of our California friends join us. We have 10 bottles left. So please claim your bottle. It will be a lot of fun. Chris, now you also provide, you also do some blind tasting. So can you tell us about blind tasting experiences that you also host and how folks can get tickets to that?
Yes, we do a lot of fun wine classes. We do at least 1 to 2 classes every month, and most classes that we're in, we blind taste the wine so we can accurately describe what we're experiencing before we even know what the wine is. And so we do that. We do that aspect in every single class we do. So you can sign up for our classes. We also offer them online using Zoom, and we ship the wines to you. So you can have a chance to try a bunch of different wines in the comfort of your own home. The next one I have coming up is actually going to be on Italy. It's going to be on March 19th. I haven't posted it on the website yet, but it will be posted within the next day or so. And it will be talking about 6 wines coming from regions in northwestern Italy. We'll be focusing on Piedmont, Liguria, and I believe Lombardy. And there may be one thing from Valdosta, which will be fun. And then if you guys want, every Thursday we put up a blind flight. And so you saw me, I was successful with this one. I kind of sort of told Dustin, I said, hey man, don't be putting something super hard in front of me. I'm going to mess up in front of all these people, embarrass myself. And Dustin said, you know what? I got you. I got something great. You're gonna fuck. I said, okay, Dustin, I trust you. I trust Dustin. Thank you, Dustin.
Dustin, thank you.
But keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Every Thursday, my wife, Rebecca, who's a master sommelier, she puts up a really challenging flight, and we have that flight available for all the guests that come in. They can blind taste it, and we also have a leaderboard for that, just starting this week. And so if you follow us on Instagram, Ungrafted_SF, you'll see a video of me tasting through that flight, describing it. Some wines I get right, and some wines I get wrong, y'all. So I don't get everything right all the time. It's very, very real. It's very in the moment. And I get a lot of wines wrong, but I always do my best to try to learn from what I get wrong and use that to get it right the next time. So that being said, and it's also fun. It should be easy and fun and relaxing. So you can check all that out on our Instagram for Ungrafted_SF.
So what was the date of your next blind tasting? It's March 19th, you said?
It'll be March 19th.
Okay, so I think folks should follow you at Ungrafted_SF to watch you so that you kind of get practice watching. Join Chris and Rebecca on March 19th, and then join us on March 24th, because blind tasting is about practicing and enjoying that experience. And speaking of enjoying the experience, I've enjoyed this experience, Chris. I hope the folks watching enjoy. If you are watching, please follow both Ungrafted and Frichette. Ungrafted is Ungrafted_SF. Follow them on Instagram. Find Chris on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Make sure you tap into this amazingness. If you're in California, Bay Area, please stop in and see Chris and Rebecca at their phenomenal restaurant, and follow us at Frichette Winery. We thank you guys so much for joining us. We love being able to connect with our wine community. Chris, any last words from you before we tap out?
I just want to thank you, Shay, for having me. It is an honor to be here and to be able to connect with all of the wonderful fans of Frichette. You and Greg do a fantastic job connecting with the people that love your wines, and also inspiring more fun with wine. That's what we're all about. And so I feel so loved and so appreciated, and I appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you on the 24th. I'm so excited.
I know. And when things that, here's the other thing too, is that when we can get back to traveling, I would love, so I'm just throwing this out there, I would love to do a live event with you. I
Oh
would
yeah.
love to come to San Francisco in your space and do something and make some things happen. So for folks who might want, if we could bring that to fruition, for folks who want to be a part of that, make sure you're following both of us so that so you know when and if that happens. So Chris, thanks again so much for joining us for this live blind tasting experience, and I'll see you on the 24th.
All right. Get ready. Thank you, Chef.
Bye.